Hey there everyone, my name is Leonquin and welcome to another Hearthstone video. So in this video we're going to be talking about the different decks present in Hearthstone currently. So main streets of gadgetzan has come out about a week ago. Never mind. Anyways, and a couple of pretty powerful decks are present in the meta currently. A couple of new powerful decks. Not like old meta Shaman or Zulok. So those decks are not included in this list. I'm just talking about new decks. So I'm going to start off with the aggro list. First, I'm going to start off with the aggro list. So one of the new aggro decks that came out is Pirate Warrior. Mishi's gadgetzan brought about some pretty powerful cards for like aggro decks such as Small Time Buccaneer and patches the Pirate's synergy, Plus patches has combo with Bloodsail Cultist for Warrior. And plus Warrior don't have like a shortage of weapons because they have upgrade, Resort's First Mate, Fiery War Axe, even direct damage cards like Heroic Strike and Mortal Strike. Plus you can add different charges from the Warrior card set and the neutral card set like Leroy Jenkins, Argent Commander. So it's a really powerful and aggressive deck, and if you can't control the deck like in the early game, you're pretty much screwed. The main counter of this deck is probably Reno Jackson for Warlock or any other deck, because by the time turn 6 you'd either be dead or have 5 to 6 health. And when that happens, you better believe you have Reno Warlock. Because if you do, you're probably going to win that game on the spot. There's no chance the Warrior could have any more burst potential since you already healed back to 30. So there's no chance. Because by the time turn 6, your opponent probably doesn't have any cards in his hand. Maybe 1, 2, maximum 3. Or any like powerful burst combo that he can potentially pull off. Because he already used most of his early game. So that's one of the main comebacks. Another comeback to this deck is, well, Priest. Priest hero power just totally counteracts aggressiveness. Plus, you can combo it with Raza the Chain as well as Justica True Heart to like get 0 mana 4 health for like nothing, So I do that Dragon Priest or Control Priest would probably own it completely to a certain extent. I mean, if you get totally unlucky with your draws, then you're totally screwed. This deck totally owns Druid. I mean, if you don't have enough ramp in the early game or don't have enough like rats or really powerful Druids 1 mana spells or 2 mana spells, you're probably gonna lose that game. There's like a 20% chance you're gonna win, I would say. I have beat Pirate Warrior with a Jade Druid, but that was because he didn't have a powerful early game. So yeah, I do think that that's one of the decks present in meta, so you should watch out for it because it's really powerful and aggressive. The next aggro deck we have is Whole Paladin or Aggro Paladin or Grimy Paladin or whatever you want to call it. So this deck revolves around cards like Grimshade Outfitter and Grimshade Enforcer. Plus they have different controlling cards like Tyrian Fordring, which is all around really powerful cards like Dr. 8, most powerful 8 drop in the game. Then they use the mean streets of gadgetzan legend like Wick of Flame, Burn Bristol, long ass fucking name, as well as even if they run out of steam, they have Divine Favor, which is really powerful against a control deck, because generally control decks have like 5 to 6 cards in the hand, so it'll probably like gain a huge hand once it like runs out of steam. If it runs out of steam, it doesn't have this card, you're probably gonna win that game, but it'll probably have a strong board just because the Grimshade Outfit and Grimshade Enforcer has like a lot of tempo, and if you see the Grimshade Enforcer come down, you better hope that you have an answer to it, because that thing is going to gain value real quick, and if you don't have an answer to it, you're pretty much screwed. Plus they run a lot of Divine Shield minions such as Argent Hawkrider and Argent Squire, as well as draw mechanics like Novice Engineer and Divine Favor, which I already talked about. They might run like 1 Equality in Consecration just to like remove the board pretty efficiently, and you better expect to be dead like turn 8 or turn 9. It's slower than what Pirate Warrior is, but it's still pretty aggressive. One of the main comebacks to this card is again Reno Lock, because well, once you heal up to 30 again by turn 6, you probably will win that game just by that health push. So, and maybe like again Priest, which I talked about. Even Mage, if you're playing against a Freeze Mage, Freeze Mage can just freeze the board and play Doomsday to clear it. And this deck doesn't really have like direct removal cards other than like Equality Consecration. Potentially. Only a few lists run it. It's like a tech choice that you make. So, yeah, it's a pretty powerful deck, and expect it to be like 20% in the meta, where Pirate Warrior is like 30%. It's pretty okay against Druid, I would say, because I've won against a few of these, I think the most pain in the ass thing about this deck is like Divine Favor, because generally Druid use gadgetzan Auctioneer, which I'll talk about in a bit, to like draw a shit ton of cards using Jade Idol and stuff like that to gain a huge hand. And if they play Divine Favor, they will have a huge hand. So you'll be in big trouble if that happens. That's one of the main ways I lost to such decks. I tried controlling it out with a Druid versus one of these decks, but that didn't work out as well. Tyrion Fortnite came and screwed me up. And it was buffed to infinity. It was like an 8 mana 10-10. It was a pain in the ass to deal with. And I lost. So, on to the next deck. So now I'm going on to mid-range / control-ish kind of decks. So, the first deck I want to be talking about is the Jade Druid. So, the Jade Druid is a really powerful deck, and it can spiral out of control really quickly, because it can use gadgetzan Auctioneer and plus a Jade Idol to like basically never mill if they felt like it, but you know, less chance that they go only for Jade Idols. But if you see a gadgetzan Auctioneer come down, it's not like a Miracle Rogue where like they can stealth it. They can't do that. So you better deal with a gadgetzan Auctioneer when it comes down. If you don't, you're probably gonna get screwed over real hard and real fast. That's for sure. Plus there are other cards like Fandos Tankhem, because they run a lot of like choose one cards like Living Roots, Feral Rage, Ancient of War. Plus this deck has a lot of ramp. Some decks run like both Wild Growth and Jade Blossom. Some decks might only run Jade Blossom, some decks might just run one Wild Growth. So there's potentially a high chance that it has ramp in its early game. Plus it runs Raven Idol, so it provides flexibility of it to just get a ramp card from that. Plus Jade Blossom summons a Jade Golem, a 1/1, and plus it stacks up from there. The main counter to this deck is basically, well, aggro decks like Aggro Paladin or Pirate Warrior, because since I've been playing this deck basically since the expansion came out, it's been really hard to like get ahead on the board against like a Pirate Warrior if you don't have like a heal like Feral Rage. And I only run one Feral Rage, but it's the thing that basically wins the game, because 8 armor is a lot from Feral Rage. That's one of the ways like this deck loses. Another way it could lose is just like Priest, I would say, because well, if you don't get the required draw against any deck, this deck's gonna lose. If you get like Ancient of Wars and Aya Blackpaw like straight in the early game as the first 3 or 4 cards you get, then you're pretty much screwed. There's probably no way you can win that game. I'm not saying to directly just concede, just play it out, see if you can top deck some luck, RNG, pray to him, I guess. So this deck is pretty powerful, definitely. This has a lot of card draw, like Azure Drake, gadgetzan, Nourish, plus a lot of Jade cards. I think it has a maximum number of Jade cards from this expansion. Pretty powerful, I would say. And some Jade Golem Druids do run Arcane Giants and 2 copies of it. They might even run Yogg-Saron just because of the number of spells that they have. So there's a lot of flexibility to that deck, and it could bring a number of threats on the board. Some may be just related to gadgetzan, while others may be like big minions on the board and combos and stuff. So yeah, pretty powerful deck. So the next deck we have is Jade Rogue. It's surprising how Jade Rogue has like the fewest number of Jade Golem cards, but still there's still a Jade Rogue, just because the cards like Jade Swarmer and Jade Shuriken are freaking powerful as all hell. I mean, first of all, Jade Swarmer has synergy with Unearthed Raptor, which has been seeing a lot of play in Jade Rogue, so you might want to kill that shit off. Plus has synergy with Nazor the Corruptor. Plus Nazor the Corruptor has synergy with Aya Blackpaw, which Aya Blackpaw is pretty busted if in the late game when you have a lot of like, you know, when you've already played a lot of Jade Golems on the board. So it's a very powerful deck, and they even run Gang Up, some of them. Because, well, you know, you can gang up Aya Blackpaw or multiple other Jade Golem cards just to like create more Jade Golems in your deck to increase the number. It's like Jade Idol, but except you need 2 cards to like, you know, make it like somewhat of effect. Even this deck can spiral out of control really quickly. It's more to the controlling side rather than Draid, which is like somewhat mid-range, because it has a like Nazor the Corruptor, and to get a good Nazor the Corruptor you need a lot of Death Rattles. And this deck does have a lot of them. So by the time turn 10, you probably won't be dead, but, you know, you never know. Plus this deck has a lot of card draw, you know, using Fan of Knives and Azure Drake. So, plus some decks might choose Novice Engineer. One of the surprising things in such decks like Control and Rogue decks is some of them run Mistress of Mixtures, which is surprisingly a really good card, because against aggro decks it totally gains you a lot of health, where giving the aggro deck a lot of more health just is irrelevant, because, well, the main aim is to kill you as fast as possible, and if and if you gain more health, that will be much more harder. Plus 4 health is pretty good amount, it's like a pretty hero power. So I would say this deck is really powerful, and it competes with Jade Trade, even though like Jade Trade has more, Jade cards. This thing surprisingly is really powerful, even though it has only 2 Jade Rogue cards, which is Jade Shuriken and Jade Swarmer. But they have a lot of synergy with the other Rogue cards, as well as Death Rattle effects. So you might want to look out for it. Next up we have the Dragon Priest. And boy do I hate this deck. I mean, you probably love this deck, but I just hate Priest as a class just because it just pisses me off sometimes. Anyways, that's what I think. But this deck is really powerful, especially with the new cards like Darkness Operative and Dragon Fire Potion, which is one of the most powerful board players for like a Dragon Priest, as well as Cabal Talon Priest, which is really freaking powerful. If you can like get a good, and as a Dragon Priest you generally have like a 1 and 2 drop, either like Twilight Whelp or Winter's Agent, or even Priest of the Feast. You could combo it so well with Cabal Talon Priest. Like, the amount of health and tempo that Cabal Talon Priest gives is so powerful, plus it combos really good and well with the Priest hero power, because the Priests thrive on big health and minions, because they have an opportunity to continuously heal it and buff it. Plus they have multiple board clears like Dragon Fire Potion, and some may even run Excavated Evil, 2 copies sometimes. As well as, if the only like drawback to this deck is if they don't have a dragon in the opener, and chances are they roll 90% of the time they do, but if they don't, then most of the cards that they have are useless, and some dragon cards require other dragon cards to get the effect, like Darkness Operative. So this deck is like 80% dragon and 20% spells. Plus you can get a huge dragons of an Spite Historian, which is really powerful. So I guess Priest might have come back in this expansion. I do think this is a really powerful deck, that's for sure, and it's probably one of the more powerful mid-range decks. One of the main counters to like Dragon Priest is, for one, itself, because, well, if they don't have a dragon, then they're pretty much screwed, because most of the cards in that deck require a dragon. Other times they just lose to like total RNG bullcrap, that's number 2, and number 3 is like aggro decks. If like you don't get a board clear, or if the aggro deck has like a crazy number of early game cards like 2 small time Buccaneers or something, you're probably gonna hope that you're gonna lose that game. Because if you don't have like early game like Twilight Whelp and Winter's Agent, which is pretty powerful early game cards, you should bank that you might lose on that game. I mean, your hero power is pretty powerful, but you can't continuously hero power against the aggro Warlock. I know that contemplates my earlier like suggestion, but you get it. This is a really powerful deck, that's for sure. But they can't generally fall back on health, because Priest of the Feast can be comboed with Power Word, Shield, and other like 0 mana spells which you may add. So it's a really powerful deck, and it's probably like one of the more dominating mid-range decks in the meta right now. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I don't know if I covered most of the decks present in the meta currently. Please tell me in the comments if I did. That would be really appreciated, so I can maybe add it to next week's video, which I'm probably gonna make about the meta next week. Pretty obvious. Smart, I know. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a like and subscribe. I know there's a bit of static in my mic, but I do apologize. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Peace out.